All right, Ralph, you ready? Let's do it. Are we on? Yes, we are.
Yep.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here today as we have the Board of Managers meeting September the 12th. And I'd like to start off by asking Reverend Leanne Franklin to please lead us in invocation, and then please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
First, I want to share just a very quick story about what happened just yesterday. I was walking through the halls, and this is going to sound very ordinary because every one of us does this, but I think it's quite extraordinary. So I found somebody who was lost in our halls. Does that ever happen? And so I, like everybody else here, said, can I help you find where you're going? And he wanted to go to the pink elevators. So I walked him to the pink elevators. And as I was walking, we were talking, and he said, you know what? This is my favorite place. This is my favorite place. And I said, what makes JPS your favorite place? And he said, my name is Alan. I came here 6 years ago. I wasn't expected to live. Y'all saved me. It was my favorite place then, and it continues to be my favorite place.
Wow. That's a nice way to start.
And I said to him, you are why it's a favorite place for me. So Disney World, not a favorite place. Steak restaurant, not a favorite place. Level 1 County Trauma Hospital, favorite place. So yes. So with that, let us pray. We give thanks for today and all its blessings. We ask that you guide and direct us. Unite our minds, unite our hearts, unite our spirits. Keep us focused on our mission as we make life better, one person, one patient at a time, so that we can continue to make this a favorite place for every single person who comes in contact with us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Leanne, thank you very much. We're going to be talking about pink elevators now. So, but anyway, thank you so very much for your so positive comments. Thank you so much. I've been advised there are no citizens that have signed in to speak, so therefore we'd go to item number 4 on the agenda. It's the approval of the August 8th minutes. I'd like to note one thing. When I read the minutes, all 11 of our board members were here last month. And again, I appreciate all the time and energy y'all give to this organization, so thank y'all. But they were there ahead for y'all to review. Should there be any changes, we'd take them at this time. If not, I'd entertain a motion. Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second by Dorothy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. On my comments today, I'm going to make these somewhat brief. Robert's usually not one to try to brag on himself, but he was a participant last week on a national healthcare conference out of state. And when I spoke with him, he said, oh, it's not that important. Well, there were obviously Harvard Medical was there, Trinity Health was there, huge corporations like Amazon and Mass General. They're all there to talk about where's healthcare going in this country. So as usual, Robert tried to minimize his importance. He was the only public health system president that was represented or person from any of the public health. So Robert, as always, thank you very much. And I think you actually met some people there that are already reaching out to you for other things now. So thank you very much for that. I'd be remiss if I didn't say we all recognize yesterday was 9/11. First responders throughout this county, we all are all very supportive of. This hospital has stepped up time and time again for their first responders. So again, to the staff and to everyone here, I say on behalf of this board, thank you very much for what you do daily, because you don't just celebrate on 9/11, you deal with it all 365 days a year. So thank y'all very much for what you do. And then the last thing, I've got a little personal note. I didn't know this was going to happen. I attended, I believe it was the finance, should blame this on Steve, but I attended finance and governance on the 22nd. And I left the hospital and headed back to work and had an accident, and I think I sent it to a few of the board members. So I get rushed to the ER. and I'm covered in blood and all that stuff, and thank God they do a marvelous job. And I want to tell Dr., to be quite frank, Dr. Bryant and his entire staff got me all sewed up and hitched up and all that good stuff, and I got out of there, and I think somebody said, well, bankers, we didn't know y'all had blood. You didn't have a heart. But I did. I had a lot of blood. And I just happened to hit a vein that just kept giving, so to speak. But again, it wasn't meant to be secret shopping. But as I thought about that setting in the ER, and again, I thank Bill, I thank a lot of people who stopped by, but I want to say this. All I could remember why I was in there was we've heard Robert talk about, and I'm not even going to compare what happened to me to the severity of what Robert had when he fell out of his attic. But I will tell you, every time he tells that story, he talks about him taking his clothes off in the ER. And so I was sitting there with blood running all down me and all my shirt, and I'm thinking, my God, they're going to have me take off all my clothes. So I want to know, Robert, that did not happen. But I just want to let you know that we talk about it. We're here. Like I say, we're first responders. We've all been here when they've come in through our ERs. We hear a magnificent job our physicians and staff and nurses do. And when it's personal, you get to see it firsthand, and it's amazing what they do. Because when I was there, we had an emergency coming in right next to me in the next bay. So it's just one of those kind of things. And it wasn't because I was a chair or anything like that. It was like, we got to take care of these people, get them in and get them out. So again, probably was too lengthy to say that. I will say this to our finance chair, though, and to Sharon. I did pay my deductible. My insurance company's paid, and I'm fixing to send in the remainder. So I want y'all to know on the finance side, Steve, I don't want y'all dunning me. I've got my bill right here. So again, Robert, again, thanks for everything y'all do. And I think we got several things we're going to discuss today, both here and in close. But again, I'll turn it over to you at this time. Thank you for everything.
You bet. Thank you, Mr. Powell, and thank you for the kind words. A couple things that have happened since we saw y'all last. We have been redesignated as a patient-centered medical home in our community clinics, and that is not an easy hoop to jump through. And Joy Parker and Karen Duncan and our team at Acclaim have done some wonderful work, and I'm proud of them to be redesignated for that, and that's pretty phenomenal. Also, our stroke team and our stroke center has been recertified. And that, too, is something that is to be reckoned with as a level 1 trauma center and a certified stroke center. And some of the other areas that we are certified in is powerful. And those certifications don't come easy. They come with a great deal of scrutiny. And so we've done well in those, and I'm very proud of the team. The other thing I wanted to mention is to Charlie's point, it was an incredible conference. I don't go to many, so it was not only a very good conference, but there were some people that I met there that I think could potentially be of help to us. And one of them I'm going to duck out real quick at 2 o'clock and talk to, because I didn't have the heart when this gentleman had a very busy schedule to say, no, I can't take that call at 2 o'clock. I said, I'll be happy to, and then I realized it was board day. But I'm going to jump out real quick and talk to one of the individuals who's done some things in nutrition and done some things in a few other areas. He has a website that you all may want to look up. It's a site known as notimpossible.com. And if you want to be moved in people doing some things, it's pretty spectacular. So notimpossible.com. Mick Eversley is the gentleman's name, and I'm going to have a conversation. He was the Muhammad Ali Humanitarian Award last year. He was selected by Forbes magazine as one of the 10 most innovative people in the United States, and he is a self-defined skateboarder from Venice Beach, California. There's another element to this young man, but he is a skateboarder. That's what he grew up doing, and he just decided I can probably do better, and he put a few programs together, and I was incredibly impressed. So we will also be getting a visit from the dean of the Harvard radiology department and talking about some of the things that Harvard's doing in mammography. And I think we could do well to listen to some of the things that they have to say as well. So there's some nice visits that will come out of this. The other thing is, talk a little, just a second about the bond, because We just got done with a meeting that took 2 hours to meet with GK Manius. Mr. Petty was there representing you as the planning chair. And that meeting was hugely helpful because I think it really discussed how we can have an effective meeting on the 17th. And I hope that all of you will have the ability to be at that meeting, because I really think that we'll establish a great synergy between us and the court. And for those of you who are concerned about, well, where's the plan, or where is things going? None of us in this room that I'm aware of have been through an $800 million bond, and we want to do it smart, and we want to do it wisely. We want to do it in the proper way. And very much like a football game, if I can create a football analogy, you probably go in with a game plan, but all of a sudden something happens on the fourth play of the game, or something happens in the second quarter. And I think those who stick to the plan and don't realize their circumstances, such as the game has now got rain and it didn't at the beginning, or somebody threw an interception when you weren't expected. If you're not nimble and you want to be stubborn and stick to a plan, I think you're going to be challenged, but you should have a plan. You should have a game plan. So your comments about where is our plan and where is our activities and where are we going, I think can and will be well defined by JPS. And we've had a lot. You all have board members who have been on this board for a while, have seen the revelations and revolutions of those plans over the years. Now it's a matter of putting it all together and figuring out where we go. And I think our meeting on the 17th will go a long way to doing that. And it will create that spirit that I think we need to have of cooperation between the court and the board. So I think it would probably be best represented if Trent talked a little bit about not only some of the things that we feel we're going to have on the 17th, but some of the things that have taken place in our forward movement towards the bond and planning. So Trent, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Robert. I think the way Robert has characterized that meeting today was exactly right. I'm very, very optimistic that the 17th is going to be a productive time for all of us. And I think getting a clear picture of what the commissioners anticipate is important. Meshing that with the board direction, I really believe that will occur. Helpful to that was the preceding meeting that we had planned. At the planning meeting, we got the opportunity to really revisit the question of what and why does JPS stand where it does in terms of the recommendations moving forward, and probably more importantly, what does that process look like? And I think most helpful to me was we had Lou and Angie and the staff sort of walk us through some of the particulars about how that process is going to be observed regarding each component of that bond process. And as each of you know, there was a recommendation that came, through the board that went to the commissioner's course that talked about the priorities of JPS relative to being able to get started quickly, being able to do it in a manner that did not require a significant amount more time than we've already put into it, and probably most importantly, taking advantage of the extensive amount of planning that has been done to date to try to put us in that position. So I think we cleared up a lot of questions in that. Some of the issues that we discussed were making sure that it was quite clear that no matter what we do at JPS, we're going to be strictly observing competitive bidding laws. We're going to be looking at the RFP and the RFQ process. I think it's all of our goal to make sure that this process is absolutely as transparent and compliant as we can make it, not only in terms of our own procedures and policies, but of those with the Commissioners Court. So I think, Robert, that meeting, the planning committee helped us solidify sort of some of the issues we needed to understand going into the 17th. This morning's meeting, I think, helped us frame those questions in a manner that I think will make it efficient and productive. So, as we sort of begged of the planning committee, let's let the 17th happen now. Right. And let's work through that process with the commissioners and try to make sure that the board has adequate input into it, but that the commissioners also have an opportunity to explain to us what's important to them. And I think we're in a good position to be able to move forward with that and go forward. So thanks to Mr. Manius for the work he's put in on it already. And I know the commissioners are equally passionate about making sure this works. So I think we're in a good place.
The one thing that I want to guarantee you all as your CEO is that myself and staff will always be respectful for your energy levels and your passion. And some of that passion is going to be slightly unbridled, saying, I want this and I want it now, because you care very much about our patients. And that's why we're all here. And we have to figure out the best thing that we do in the overall picture, the grand scheme of things. We have to figure out how we do that with a significant partner in the court. And we have to figure out how to do that within the finances that we have available to us, not just what's been afforded to us by a wonderful vote by the citizenry, but what we can afford in interest and principal. And so there's realism, and there's dreams, and there's hopes, but it's all based on all the good stuff. It's all based on what we're doing for patients. And when we keep that patient the center of our focus, then our decisions will always be right. And so I will have the highest level of tolerance for any ideas you have, any frustrations you have, because frustrations mean you care. And I don't take that as a negative. And again, we're all going to go through this process. And we're going to establish things that are so critically important for our community, because this board will have a mark on the wall, and this board will be the one that everybody will look back in 20 and 30 years and say, did they do the right things? And at least they'll always know your heart's in the right place. And times will change. We may make a decision in the year 2020 that they'll look at in the year 2022. I want you all to go back and look at any high school graduation pictures you have and think, what was I thinking? And that's going to be a part of planning and building too, because you're going to build to what you have. And you're going to build to what is around you at that time period, and we're going to do the right things. But in the future, somebody may look and say, well, that was a strange decision. But at that moment, in that time period, thinking the best we can about the future. And I will also encourage you to realize, and I think Dorothy, as a board member, is probably the one that knows this the best, the future of healthcare changed more in the last 5 years than it did in the last 25 years. With the onset of new technologies, the onsets of what we can do, and the whole philosophy. Part of the conference that I went to was a presentation by a few industry leaders, and their emphasis is on getting people to stay in their homes, getting people who turn 65 and 70 and 80 and 90 to be in their home, to have the dignity that they would rather have in their home than in another type setting. So what can we use with technology? And I listened to a 3-hour demonstration by technological experts about what we can do to help you in your home to deal with in-home living rather than going to a facility. And that may be a key component to us, because when we started this effort, the thought process of building 600 more beds or 700 more beds or 100 more beds or 2 more beds may have possibly changed with the advent of some of the newest technologies that we have available to us today that weren't available to us 2 and 3 years ago. So I think that we will be looked upon as a board and as administration and as a court to say they made the right decisions when it was put in front of them. And that's what we're going to do. So we as a staff will continue to work hard. And again, I have great respect for all of you in all of your opinions as to whether we should plan more, we should plan less, we should do this, we should move forward, where are we going, what are we doing? And then you juxtapose that to a community, and a community of people that have talents and skills that want to help us as well. And we want to utilize as many of them as we possibly can in our efforts to help our patients. So I appreciated the meeting very much. Mr. Manius and I have become a lot closer. Didn't know that I would be spending as much time with Mr. Manius as I have. But it's all.
I'm glad you like him.
It is good that we like each other, because we are spending a lot of time with each other. And that's helpful as we both kind of venture down this. So thank y'all, and I hope that's helpful, Mr. Chairman. But I do agree wholeheartedly with Trent that I think that meeting on the 17th will be a very helpful meeting for you as board members, us as staff, and court members and their staff as well.
Thank you, Robert. And Trent, it goes without saying, you've been involved in this since day one, so thank you for all the time you've given to this. You know, I think the planning meeting, and Ralph, you had some great questions, I know we had some people afterwards say, I think the planning meeting in anticipation of the meeting on the 17th was a good place to kind of say, we hear, where are you going to build something? Is there contracts been signed for architectural? I think that meeting also, Trent, kind of took everybody back to saying, hey, in fact, I went back and pulled the Citizens Blue Ribbon Committee, and it starts on page 7, and many on this board's been on this board over 8 or 9 years. the actual first Boca Powell master plan was started in 2009. We've had Boca Powell, we've had Blue Cottage Consulting, we've had Brodus and Associates, we've had Health Management Associates, we've had the Cunning Ting and Percival was involved with Blue. There's been 5 or 6 of the largest consulting places in this area and in this nation come up with various plans. Then all of a sudden something, like you say, Robert, interception. We had an opportunity to pick up the cancer center on 8th. What a fantastic facility that is. Back during all these, we were anticipating having, so this thing will need tweaking. And I think that's where the 17th goes. I think the planning also, Trent, and I go back to, it kind of set the stage. There's nothing predetermined, all those decisions are going to be forthcoming. And I think we're going to come on, like you say, Trent, I think we're going to come out the 17th with more of a rifle approach of where we're going next. So again, I appreciate everybody's time and energy, but I think obviously it's time that both the community and everyone's wanting to know what are we going to do. Yes, sir.
So is there an agenda already laid out for that meeting?
The agenda that we sort of discuss are just basic outlines, introduction, overview of the Blue Ribbon Committee. What do we do from a program management standpoint going forward? They're very general topics because I think what Mr. Manius and certainly I want is discussion from board members and court members. So I think if you're too tight on your agenda, you'll set the pace, and I don't think it's staff to set the pace. I think this is a board and a court-initiated emphasis, so they're very broad. And we've sort of left it up to the court to do the publishing, so I think they actually would put out an agenda tomorrow, yep. But it's in very broad terms by design.
But I think it's certainly the entrance into actions forthcoming. I think you've indicated several times, I know you have too, Dorothy, it's time for us to, people are beginning to ask what is happening. And I think that's where we're going after the 17th. Trent's that probably a good summary. Let's get past that meeting. And I think we'll have more of a define, and we start kind of narrowing in this general agenda, Ralph, into something. What's next? What could happen immediately? What could happen next? Do we need to tweak something we got? And I think that's going to come out of this meeting on the 17th. So again, Robert, thank you very much.
Ralph, I think the agenda is, when we do see it, I think it's going to be intentionally broad and formatted in a general sort of way that encourages discussion, because I saw less desire to have a point-by-point decision than I did having an open, candid discussion between the board and the court on what the best method going forward looks like. So I didn't sense that there was going to be a 1A, 1B, 1C. I sense more of a, let's talk about the big picture discussion. Let's make sure we understand where the board is, we understand where the commissioners are, and that then we've got a platform to go forward on. So I don't know that it'll be a very detailed agenda once we do get it.
And that's the sense I got, Trent, is that it kind of is, we're off and running. I don't think we're going to hear on the 17th, we're going to build a medical home here. I don't think that's going to happen on the 17th, but it's certainly going to start the direction of where we're going and what is going to get built. And I think that's the next step. So again, Trent, thank you for all the time. Robert, thanks for everything. That would bring us down to item number 7. I know Dr. Schrader's not here. I think Dr. Elliott is going to cover item number 7. Dr. Elliott, morning.
Hi, thank you.
Well, good afternoon,
everyone. So I'm here on behalf of Dr. Schrader, anyway, in our med staff office and medical executive committee. So we have 2 privileges before you, and I'll go each one separately, asking for your approval. The first one is for approval of the cardiovascular disease clinical privilege, adding laser lead extraction. You have a description that's there in your packet. Although not a cardiologist, I can answer some questions on that. I know some basics of it. But we're asking for that first and that approval of that privilege. Thank you.
Any discussion for Dr. Elliott?
Have we already approved all of these before, all the rest of the document?
Yes, the rest of the document. This is just the additional piece.
That's correct.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Weber. That's a good question.
Any other comments under 7A?
No, I'd recommend approval.
And I have a motion by Dr. Weber, I have a second by Mrs. DeBose. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 7A passes. We then go to 7B, Dr. Elliott.
Thank you very much. Next is for approval of the Department of Internal Medicine Neurology privilege for neuro-oncology.
Any discussions or any questions for Dr. Elliott?
I have two questions.
Yes.
Under the qual-
Good. Yes. Thanks, Jim.
Qualifications for percutaneous thrombolysis thrombectomy, is that where we are to that point?
Where are you on that, Dr. Weber?
It's under cardiovascular disease,
Oh, we're going back to
Cardiology.
cardiovascular?
clinical privileges.
Okay.
It caught my eye that it says successful completion of an ACGME accredited, but it doesn't mention or AOA fellowship.
Is
So-
not AOA and ACGME now
So,
one and the same?
I'll tell you actually where we even are now. There are very few fellowships, so as of 2020, going into this next cycle, there will be only one single accreditation system. ACGME is now, as of 2020, will be the only accreditation system.
It's
And
just
so
the
all
re-
AOA is moving under that, too.
It's just the rest of the documents
Sure.
We're
We
gonna
usually
have
have
both.
both,
typically say ACGME and
AOA.
or AOA, and this
This one does
does
not.
not.
Okay.
So
We-
it just-
And that's a great point, and I can take it back to the
Yes.
committee for you, absolutely.
Clean that up.
And then,
Isn't that, when you look at the cardiology clinical privileges, it says the successful completion of the
At the beginning.
ACGME or the AOA. If you, it's
Right.
on the first
First page.
page, is that,
this is back in the specifics.
oh,
Yes.
they didn't put it in the specifics, oh, okay.
Yeah, the R part's going away. I hear that's not going to be a,
Right, but even those
accrediting.
that have completed it prior,
Yes.
we still would recognize AOA, and that
Right.
is what you see in the qualifications. And which page are you, Dr. Weber, referring to that you feel that we need to look
I
at?
still see it
Because we have it on page 1 in the overall qualifications for
In the
interventional
board
cardiology.
quotes on page 24.
24.
Yes, sir.
and then on,
Under the qualifications for the thrombolysis.
okay, that's the one that you're on,
It's
okay.
R. He's over in the actual body of the report. Do you want the motion to be amended to
No,
include the?
no, this is
Okay,
just for them to,
super. And Dr. Elliott, it sounds like you're going to correct that.
Yeah, I'll go
in the
ahead and take a
in the
look
actual
at that.
body of the document.
Yeah, we can go ahead and take a look at it. I see where you see it under every specific
Yes,
one,
right.
and that's one that we noted, and I'll take it back to the committee for that.
okay, and then this is the English teacher in me on page 26. Under initial applicant requirements, the sentence ought to be the applicant must something proctored, must,
Oh.
I think the B is,
Gotcha.
BE is missing from
Okay.
Could you say that again for me, Dr. Weber? And I can meet with you.
vascular ultrasound arterial. Initial applicant requirements. Second sentence, the applicant must, it just says must proctored for 10 studies.
Okay. We'll get a look. We'll get that
Okay.
corrected
Just
grammatically.
English.
All right.
That's it.
Made a
Thanks,
big,
Dr. Weber.
made a B plus on that one. Dr. Elliott, thank you very much.
Thank
Schrader
you.
did it.
All right.
Thank
He set you up.
All right. There, be-
Dr. Weber.
is there any other additional questions under item number 7B? Having heard none, I would entertain a motion. I have a motion, Dr. Weber. Second, Dr. Simmons. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Thank y'all very much. Dr. Elliott, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, no, not for you, Dr.
Oh.
Elliott.
Okay,
I-
thank
I made a mistake when I talked about the meeting on the 17th, and I appreciate the corrections. I want to make sure that y'all knew it was 2 PM at the Family Law Center, and the Family Law Center is located at 200 East Weatherford. So it's going to be at the Family Law Center, and if y'all remember,
where
for
Blue
those
Ribbon-
of you who came to the Blue Ribbon Committee, it's where we had the Blue Ribbon Committee final report.
Right.
So it will be at 2 PM, Family Law Center, 200 East Weatherford.
Yes.
It's like the second floor.
It was where the joint
Yeah.
commissioners
No, it's
and
where
we met
with
last
the
time.
court Last time we met
Yes.
with them. So,
And I'll validate
I'm
part.
trying to picture where that is again.
It's right across.
Is that the new building?
it is
Yes,
the
it's the new building. It's where
Yes.
they do the swearing in and all that.
Or across the street?
Yes, where they swear in on the first, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, good deal, thank you. All right, there being none there, we now move to item number 9 on the agenda, committee reports. First being finance. Mr. Montgomery.
So we had a
Finance Committee meeting on the 22nd of August, and Ms. Clark gave us the July financial update, which I think she's prepared to do today. Our numbers are looking really good. We also forwarded, I think, about 6 or 7 contracts for the full board's approval, and we recommend approval of those. And then the chairman went out and banged his head on the.
I did.
Yeah.
I want to add to the revenue cycle. Sharon's all yours.
Thank you. One update I'd like to give you outside of the financials is we did get final approval for both of our tax rate as well as our operating budget for 2020 from Commissioners Court this last Tuesday, September 10th. So we can proceed forward with that. It's nice to get that finalized. So for July, as Steve mentioned, we did have a very strong month. You can see the medical center for the month was about $3.5 million ahead of their budget. The story last month was actually just a great rev cycle month. We were able to pick up a little bit on volume, as well as settle kind of 2 pools of older accounts that were recoveries. So that put, those older accounts put just over $2.5 million on our bottom line. So congratulations to the rev cycle team as they continue to work with some of our payers on some difficult subjects.
Thanks for Charlie's credit card. Just
It was all charges from our ER last month. It was not, but. So Acclaim also had a very favorable month. They came in about $500,000 ahead of their budget. So when you look at our month in total, we were just over $4 million to the positive of where we thought we would be this time last year. When you carry forward year to date, there's a part over there that I can't circle, but you can see where we're about $7.8 million gained from operations. And again, I'll continue to point that out for as long as you allow me to, but that is a combined number. So the medical center and Acclaim, when you look at them, are favorable from an operating standpoint financially. We thought we would be about $14 million in a loss position, so that's quite a feat. I'll remind you that July is through 10 months, so we do have 2 more months worth of operations, but I feel like we're in the clear. The only large item that impacts us at year end is typically the final determination of some of our formula funding, like UC, uncompensated care, as well as DISH. There's still a lot of issues out there with those.
When do you think next month we'll know those?
I'll get a good preliminary number for September by the time I present you September, but there may be an outstanding item for those federal dollars. We typically do not get that final number until, DSRIP included, until the auditors are actually in the field. So that's always an open item waiting for those to settle. Can I answer any other questions for anyone? Okay, thank you very much.
But before you run off, Sharon, you have the combined balance sheet here?
I do.
I missed this in the Finance Committee, I think, but under Acclaim, under current assets, it has a negative 189.
So the way
I
that.
missed what that is.
So let me flip back to the income statement to help you understand some of that. Acclaim as a company is dependent on JPS Hospital for cash flow because they do operate at a loss. So there may have been a day where there was a large accounts payable run that went out, but that 189 is coming from the medical center most likely the next day. So it does look like they were slightly overdrawn, but with our bank accounts, that's just a temporary,
Okay.
yes.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah, you also note there's some due to, due froms down in the liabilities for a claim as well.
Right.
Any other questions for
Thank
Sharon?
you.
Thank you.
Sharon, before you leave, I just want to say one thing. I know our finance chair was there, Ms. Montgomery. I know, Robert, you were there, and I attended both sessions. You just didn't walk down to the courthouse and say, here's our budget. During the budget presentation, you had very lengthy presentations, a lot of questions asked you. You handled them very well. You then went and attended the follow-up meeting also, so thank you for, I know it's your job, but it's not fun standing there in front of the commissioners for a lengthy time and talk numbers of this magnitude, so thank you for what you did. And Steve, I think you probably echoed that. You were there also, and thank you for attending those meetings also. I just got to sit in the back of the room and talk, but anyway, but thank you for what you did. All right, that'll take us down to governance. Roger, Mr. Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met as well on August 22nd. First and foremost, in the August board meeting, you put forth a charge for us to look at the acclaimed bylaws. We decided, after getting some feedback, that that would be an item that the acclaimed executive committee could bring to us. We could then add our changes to it and do it more appropriately at that time. So that's kind of on the back burner for the moment.
Thank you for the update.
Under consent, we've got items P and Q regarding the compliance work plan and internal audit work plan, which were approved at the committee. And I just want to give my thanks to Ron and Michelle and their teams. Their team, it's not a very large team doing a pretty gargantuan task, and I appreciate the work that they always put forth to it.
Good deal.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions involving committees? Dorothy, was there anything out of HR or anything this cycle we didn't read? Yeah, okay, super. Thank y'all very much. That takes us to item number 10, which is an action item. And I'm going to basically, I think, JR, we didn't get all these in. I think we appointed her to numerous other tax increment boards last month, and there were a few more came in late, and we said we'd just run them back through this time. Robert, is there anything else you need to,
No,
that you want to add to that?
Just in the totality of what we know from TIFs at the present time.
So if there's any questions, I have a motion for approval by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Montgomery. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item number B, and I'm going to read this one. Consider approval of the sole source exemption and purchase agreement between Neonatal Product Group and for the hospital district. This was discussed, Wanda, and I'll probably get this wrong because we had some questions. There is a timeline here. It is sole source because they're the only people that make this particular equipment, and we also thought we'd bring it straight to the board. It's not a huge item considered what we look at sometimes at this board, but also there's a cost savings if we meet on October 1st. So you might explain exactly what it's for because you know that so much better than I do, but thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you. It is a sole source exemption. This is the only company who makes these particular carts. We are asking for your approval for the sole source exemption, plus the purchase of 8 neonatal carts. These are rapid response units. They're similar to a crash cart, but they're for specifically maternal hemorrhage. The state is really focusing on that because there has been across the country an increase in maternal deaths. And so by having this rapid response to like in the room, and it has everything you would need to respond to maternal hemorrhage. And this cart particularly has like a refrigeration unit. It has all the special locking you would need because you put your medication and everything that you would need in that particular cart. So we are asking for the purchase of 8 of those carts. They'll be distributed throughout Women's Services, and then there will be a couple of backups like you would have for a crash cart, so that if you used one, they could just bring you a brand new one that was already fully stocked and ready to go. So
Appreciate that. Any other questions for Wanda on this item? If not, I entertain a motion. I have a motion by Mr. Montgomery, second. Yes, it's a two-edged approval.
Correct.
It's sole source and for the actual acquisition of the stuff.
My motion.
Covered both? Got you.
Second.
I have Ralph, you're shaking your head over there. I think I heard double. I have a motion for both from Ms. Montgomery and both from Dr. Weber. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you. Wanda, thank you very much for not only getting us in the timeline to save us money, but also obviously something we need. Which brings us at this time to the consent agenda. You hopefully had plenty of time to see those previously. As we've always indicated, those all have been vetted through committees, or they would not be on here. But if there's any questions, we would certainly take something off for discussion. If not, after you've reviewed it, I would ask for a motion for approval. Mr. Zimmerman on the motion for approval, second by Reverend Emerson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Which would bring us down to report of legal counsel. Mr. Adams.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have two items to report on. One is our normal on contracts negotiated under $500,000 for the month of July was $4,400, and the list of those contracts are posted on your board portal. If you got questions, give me a call. The second item is there has been issues continually brought up in questions under Senate Bill 1640 as to what your role is or not. I have provided you a memoranda from my office that I think hopefully answers your questions. I've also given you in that first paragraph really the key issue that was addressed in 1640 is to eliminate what's called a walking quorum of the board. And again, these discussions we're talking about are between board members. They're not between board members and a staff member. And so when you're seeking information, which is one of your number one legal fiduciary duties, is to have information so you can make informed decisions from the staff. There's nothing that prohibits that at all. The thing that you have to be careful on is when two or more of you are discussing an issue that is substantive. Now, I also separated there's issues you discuss that are process related. For instance, the agenda, or when you schedule a meeting. You can have discussions among yourself. That's not what's covered by the Texas Open Meetings Act. But when you start talking about substantive issues, that's another matter. And so that needs to be within the committee framework, which those meetings are posted, or within the framework of the board, which are posted and have specific agendas. And then there's always the gray areas in between. And as I've told Chuck, and I think Dorothy, I've had conversation with you, if there's any question about what your discussions may be or about to be, then pick up the phone and give me a call. You have my cell phone. I'll be happy to address those on a case or fact situation basis. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, except for a couple items in executive session.
Thank you very much. Which will bring us now to the time to go to closed session. So I would say at 1:50, we'll take just a quick 5-minute break, and take about a 5-minute break, and we'll come back in and do closed session. Hopefully it won't take too long. Thank y'all.
What
Yeah, we'll be gone. Thank y'all very much. We will now reconvene in open session at 2:35. Before us, the next item would be for privileges. Dr. Elliott has presented us those. Go ahead, Dr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am presenting to you the list for the medical staff credentialing and privilege and activity for the month and asking for approval of the list.
Any questions for Dr. Elliott? There being none, I entertain a motion. I have a motion by Dr. Weber, second by Mr. Zimmerman. All those in favor say aye. Those no. Is there any other business to come before the board? I would also remind you, we will have the meeting at 2 o'clock on the 17th. Look forward for those who can attend. I know it's fairly quick and it's another afternoon. Appreciate your time and commitment. There being no additional business, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.